Meet Bob. Bob is a happy human being. He has a house, and he also lives by a wetland and the beach. The wetland has plants. It also has other plants, more plants, bugs, and other birds, and all kinds of wildlife. Unfortunately, Bob hates this. In fact, he hates it so much that he would rather get rid of it, not knowing what it would do for him. So one day he orders a bulldozer, and he bulldozes the entire wetland because he wants to live by the beach, right next to it. So he bulldozes his own house, he builds a new house right on the waterfront. He has a lovely beach house. It's amazing, it's great. But then one day, Bob begins to get thirsty. He begins to get thirsty. He's like, where did all my water go? Where did all my water go from the well? I can't find any more water. And he's thinking, why don't I have any water? And I haven't been able to fish anymore. Where did all my fish go? He's so confused. He's completely devastated. He does not understand why there's no water and no sushi. No sushi, no water. Life for Bob on the beachfront is no longer that great. Then one day he feels an earthquake. He looks and he sees a huge tsunami come in and it wipes out his entire home. And before he can reach high ground, it wipes him out too. And then that, my friends, is a story of how Bob died. But why?
So Bob's story is an example of how sometimes we treat our wetlands. But what is a wetland? Is it a wet land? No. Well, it's actually just a piece of land that for some part of the year is covered or saturated in water. Depending on the soil type, we sometimes call them marshes, bogs, or swamps. Now, wetlands provide something awesome called ecosystem services. Basically, cool things that they provide. First thing is it's a habitat or home to many different species. Look for a heron, fish, shrimp, crab, algae, and they all live in a food web. You'll see the arrows go to where the energy goes. So the heron eats a fish, so the arrow goes towards the heron in this diagram. The next ecosystem service they provide is water purification. Now, wetlands are nature's Brita filter, so let's say water flows from the Presidio, sometimes carries nasty things like trash, oil from cars, but most of that won't make it to the ocean. The wetland first filters out any sediment and then breaks down organic matter. Next service is flood control. Did you know that in about 80 years, the area around Gal, the marina, the Christie Field Center, estimates show that they will be flooding about once a year? Thankfully, when rivers flood or the ocean sea level rises, wetlands will provide a barrier and buffer to that flooding. The next service is something fancy called carbon sequestration. Basically means to take something and keep it. So, for example, the plants take carbon from the atmosphere, keep it in them, and when they die, that gets stored in the soil. This helps prevent climate change by taking that carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Pretty sweet, huh? So to recap, the wetland ecosystem services include habitat, water purification, flood protection, and carbon sequestration. So, despite their awesomeness, we often don't treat wetlands with the respect they deserve. Let's take Chrissy Field, for example. Back in the day, the marsh used to go all the way to what we now know as Fillmore Street. And for many, 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 many years, the indigenous or native Ohlone lived in small villages around the marshland, using the area to hunt, fish, and live. But with Spanish and European colonization, much changed. And, for example, the sand was taken from the ocean and nearby dunes to fill it in, and was even used as a place for airplanes. So about 15 years ago, efforts began to restore the marsh, or a part of the marsh, and even build a Christie Field Center. So we're going to be able to get in and explore this restored area. In order for you to be comfortable in your waders, make sure that you bring socks. I like to wear my long socks, and also long pants. See you soon, and let's go explore.